What's going on? I'm Bruce and welcome to The Horror Review. Today I'm going to take a look at the movie Hell Night. This movie came out in 1981 and was directed by Tom DeSimone. This movie holds a special place in my heart because it was one of the first horror movies that I saw as a kid, and it kind of jump-started my love for horror movies. Looking back on it, it was different than most slashers at the time, with their overly sex-crazed characters making bad decisions. Now, they do have your typical horror movie trope characters, but you couldn't point out a character and say, I don't like them. They were pretty cool for the most part. So without further ado, this is The Horror Review of Hell Night. Movie starts out at a frat party. This is where you're introduced to Peter, the president of the fraternity, his sidekick Scott, May, and our pledges, Marty, Jeff, Seth, and Denise. Then the group heads over to Garth Manor. Big group is standing in front of the gate of the manor, and Peter gets this whole backstory of the family that lived in the house and how there were murders in the house, people were killed, and they never found the body of Andrew. So as part of the pledging, Marty, Jeff, Seth, and Denise have to stay in the house overnight. Peter literally said they only had to stay in there for 6 hours. Like 6 hours? If I gotta stay in there 6 hours, I'm just gonna stay by the gate. So Peter gives them a gun, locks the gate, and the group heads inside. They go and get comfortable and break off into their separate rooms. Yeah, they were horny college kids, but they weren't like Friday the 13th camp counselor horny. This is when Peter, Scott, and May show up. They have the house all rigged up with different sound effects and noises, trying to scare the pledges, because you know, they have to stay in the house overnight so they can join the fraternity and sorority. So they kind of start off with some scream noises, get the group all riled up, so they get together, Seth and Jeff, and they kind of quickly find the speakers and some of the setup that they had in the house. Meanwhile, the little frat crew is outside setting up the next prank. Peter tells May to go set up somewhere or whatever and send her on her way. While she's heading to where she needs to go, she gets snatched up and pulled through this big ass hole in the ground. Then that's where you see Andrew, and he grabs May and just cuts her head clean off. I mean, she's like screaming, and ain't nobody hear that screaming? Like, y'all ain't hear, you literally just walked off. So Seth and Jeff go around looking for the source of any other sound effects they could find, and Marty's hanging out by the fireplace. Then all of a sudden the candles go out, the windows and doors lock, and this creepy ass ghost just shows up out of nowhere. Like, mind you, this is the 80s, so I don't even know how they are even having this technology to even pull this kind of stuff off. Scott goes onto the roof to set up this mannequin with a mask on it. He's setting it up, and then he starts hearing stuff. Then out of nowhere, Andrew grabs Scott's head and twists that thing backwards. So Seth and Denise are asleep in the room, and Denise wakes up and starts wandering around. She sits at this vanity, and Peter has this prank set up where he's wearing this mask, and on the other side of the mirror, he flashes the light at himself to try to scare Denise, right? But like, Denise like literally doesn't pay attention.
It's Quaaludes a murder on my skin.
Shit.
Peter goes to look for his crew and goes on the roof to look for Scott. He trips over the mannequin and realizes Scott didn't set it up. He hears some clanking noise from like a bucket that was hanging from a rope. So Peter starts cranking this thing up to the top, and then all of a sudden that's where he notices Scott's dead body. Like, how did Peter have the strength? Because he wasn't really cranking that hard. I don't know how he had the strength to pull a whole dead body up. So he sees that body and he dips. Like, he don't even go to the door. He don't even go to the house and say, hey, okay, y'all all in. The night's over. We can go now. He just dips. Then he sees what possibly could be Andrew with his dusty suit on. He tries to hide in this little hedge maze. Well, Andrew, of course, finds him and makes quick work of him. So the couples are doing their thing in their room, you know, making out and whatever. And then you see Seth and Denise kind of getting it on, right? So like, you see them getting on, and this is a different thing about this movie than you see in other horror movies, especially during that time, is they show them making out, and then the next scene they're just chilling. They don't even show the whole them having sex. They don't show the girl with the tits out and everything like that. They just, you know, cut to, okay, we implied that they had sex, but my thing is they was making out and it looked like they just finished having sex, but they both still had their clothes on. Like, nobody was getting dressed or nothing, so I don't know what was going on there. Anyway, Seth has to go take a piss, and he goes off to the bathroom. And then Denise goes to sleep. I don't know how she fell asleep that fast, but she goes to sleep. Then all of a sudden, here comes old Dusty Andrew. He shows up in the room. He's just standing over her, just staring at her. And this back in the day, when I saw this scene back in the day, boy, I'll tell you right now, I was afraid to go to sleep and wake up with somebody standing over me looking at me like that. I mean, I don't know what Seth's doing. Like, is he taking a dump? No, he's just peeing. So Seth comes back to the room and clearly Denise is not in the bed. So he starts feeling around. So he sees this lump under the covers and he lifts over the covers and it's May's severed head. I don't know how Andrew had the time to snatch up Denise and put this severed head of May under the covers. Enough time this dude went off to pee. And on top of that, I didn't even see a severed head in his hand. Did he have it in his pocket or what? So Seth reacts like anybody else would, and he said he getting the hell up out of there.
What happened? She's dead. Who's dead? I don't know, man. It's Sorority chick.
He grabs the gun, he takes off to the gate, he tries to shoot the lock, and then he notices that obviously the gun has blanks.
Blanks? Those bastards!
Now that I think about it, when Peter shot the lock, when he put the lock back on, it was the same lock. So ain't no way he shot the lock and they can use that same lock again. The lock would have been finished. I'm like really just now realized that happened. Now this is why I like Seth. Seth just throws the gun down and just starts climbing the gate. They're like, don't climb the gate. It's going to not safe. No, I'm going. I'm out. And then Marty tried to climb the gate too. Like, Marty, you are not. you do not have the upper body strength. But of course, here's where the dangers of climbing the gate comes into play, because Peter had mentioned earlier, don't try to escape because there's the spikes at the top of the gate. So Seth makes his way, makes it over the gate. Obviously, he gets stabbed in the shoulder by one of the spikes on top of the gate, but he gets over. The funny thing about it was this fool took his boots off and had them throw the boots over the gate, and there's literally a big gap under the gate. They could have just slid the boots under the gate. So Seth runs off and gets help, and Marty and Jeff head back into the house. They're in the room and Jeff tells Marty he sees some light out in the courtyard and he's going to go check it out because it could be Denise, because Denise's body was never found, And then he tells Marty to stay in the room. They have this little moment where they look each other in the eyes and they kiss. No, Jeff, people are dead. We ain't have time for all that. Jeff goes outside and ends up finding Peter's body. And of course, he finds your complimentary horror movie flashlight. So obviously he freaks out seeing this and then he runs back in the house. Me, I'm climbing over the gate and I'm heading out. You imagine? I see his body. I take off to the gate and I'm climbing the gate. Marty looks out the window. Marty's looking out the window like, what's he doing? I'm looking back like, I don't know what to tell you. Meanwhile, Seth is actually out here in these streets trying to get help. So Seth ends up making it to the police station. He tries to ask for help, but I guess apparently his fraternity has been giving the police problems all night and they refuse to help him. And they even threaten to arrest him if he doesn't get out of there.
Now either you get the hell out of here or you're gonna spend a night in jail.
So Seth decides to take it into his own hands. He sees the evidence room, goes inside, sees this table full of guns and other weapons, and he decides to grab a shotgun, load that thing up, and sneak out the window. Me personally, I would have grabbed a shotty, a handgun, an AR, maybe a grenade. I mean, they probably didn't have ARs and grenades laying around as evidence in the 80s, but I'm not just getting one gun. So Jeff and Marty lock themselves back in the room and wait for Seth to bring help. And then all of a sudden, Andrew starts coming through the floor like the Undertaker at WrestleMania. Like this dude is just coming up through from up under the rug, and ain't nobody noticed that until he's all the way up. Jeff has on pitchfork. He stabs Andrew. Andrew goes back down in the hole. And Jeff's like, enough is enough. We about to go after this fool. So Jeff and Marty follow Andrew down the hole and they go like deep down in the basement. I mean, there's like these little corridors underneath the basement. They're going down deep in this hole and then they go through these hallways and then that's where they find Denise at this dinner table. I mean, damn, Andrew a little freak. Of course, Marty screams. And then obviously that alerts Andrew. And then here come Andrew ass coming through this tunnel. And he is on their heels. He's chasing them through these tunnels. They're trying to figure out a way to get back up. They finally found these stairs. and they got to go through this hole in the wall. That's basically where Peter was going in and out of. I don't know how Peter never ran into Andrew, but anyway. All of a sudden, Andrew comes up the steps. Jeff and Andrew start tussling. They both fall down the stairs, and then they're fighting at the bottom. And then Jeff just clocks Andrew over the top of the head with the pitchfork, and he's just down for a minute. So they were able to get out the side of the hole in the wall that led to outside. They buy themselves some time by blocking the secret passage door with the pitchfork. Now they don't have a weapon. Now Seth is out here not playing. He sees some guy in the parking lot, straight carjacks him. The guy's like, what's going on? He's like, I need this car. Get up out of the car. And guess what? Matter of fact, you can go ahead and report it. Tell them to go to Garth Manor. Now Seth is driving down the street, Fast and Furious style, trying to get back to the house. He is moving. As Seth pulls up to the house, man, hold on, who is this? So Seth follows whoever was at that gate and then notices there's this opening in the side of the gate. So he follows right in. All of a sudden, some Wolfman looking creature jumps out, tackles him, so they start scuffling. And of course, the shotty gets knocked out of his hands, and Seth is out there reaching for the shotty, trying to get him. He finally gets to the shotty, turns around and pulls that trigger, blows him over the railing, and then this Wolfman falls into the pond. Who is this? Andrew's brother? So Seth goes down there, checks the body, pulls the body out to make sure this little monster is dead, and then he jumps out the pond, Friday the 13th style, and Seth just gives him another shot and kills him. Then he pulls the body out and he heads back in the house. Busting in through the door, he lets him know, I killed Andrew. I killed Andrew. He's like, no, I killed him. And he's just leaning up against the side of the wall, and all of a sudden Andrew snatches him off screen. So they get the tussling over there. You hear a gunshot go off, and then you hear silence. And then the gun comes flying out and lands in the middle of the floor. And of course, Marty's like, let me go get the gun. So she goes creepy down to get the gun. First of all, they both should went and go get the gun. If Seth didn't say, I'm okay, I ain't going down there. So Marty tries to grab the gun, then Andrew dives at her feet, and now the chase is on. Now here come Andrew up them steps, and once again, he is on those heels. They try to lock themselves in the room, and of course, Andrew busts through that door. And he's like, don't have any way out, so they got to go out the window. So they head out the window. Andrew stops him at the window and straight gorilla presses. She straight gorilla presses Jeff and throws him out the window. Now Marty's all by herself. Marty makes it outside, and then that's where she finds Peter's body. But she actually sees that Peter has some keys in his hand, so she grabs the keys, which are the keys to the gate out front. Seth still had the keys in the car, so Marty opens up the gate. Then of course she tries to start the car, and the car wasn't start. But it's all good because we know from earlier that Marty used to work in her dad's garage over the summer, so she knows her way around cars. So she was able to hotwire the car, go or get it started or whatever. And then she goes to pull off. I don't know why. She goes to back off. She backs into the gate, and then which breaks the gate, and then she tries to take off. So she's driving through. We think that, okay, she's safe. She's driving. She's, frantic and everything like that. And then here come Andrew. He come busting through the windshield. He on top of the car. I don't know how he got on top of the car, but he on top of the car. Then she goes crazy. She lets go of the steering wheel, and the car just turns into a damn Tesla, turns around, and starts driving back to the house where the gate was knocked over, where the spikes were exposed. She hits that gas. It goes right into the gate, which impales Andrew, and then Andrew's dead. There's no 2 seconds later, he's dead, and then all of a sudden, he pops up and then grabs her, nothing like that. No, he dead. And Marty survives. So that's basically the end of the movie. She gets out the car, walks off, and then the credits. So does this mean Marty gets in the sorority? She's in, right? She survived the night, right? Right? I don't know. All in all, this was one of my favorite horror movies of the 80s. It has its horror movie tropes and everything like that, but it was a solid movie. These characters had a little bit of depth to them, so you didn't get annoyed by any character. They really didn't make any stupid decisions. Besides staying in the house after they saw the first body. But other than that, once they saw the bodies, they was trying to get up out of there. All in all, Hell Night was one of my favorite horror movies. And to me, this is kind of like how horror movies should be done. Be on the lookout for more horror reviews coming soon. Until then, don't be scary.